Well, hello everybody. Happy Aloha Friday. And Adrian, who do we have today on our show?
Well, we've got two guests to bring to you guys today. The first guest was born in 1959, the year Hawaii became a state, and after graduating from the University of Texas and law school at Tulane University Law School in New Orleans, he moved to Hawaii in 1989, living and working here ever since. For over 34 years, he's represented Hawaii residents that have been injured or wronged by the big businesses or government in a wide variety of cases.
Joining us also is a graduate from UCSB in environmental studies and went to the University of Pacific Law School. He's an avid volleyball player and coach, has a passion for paddling outrigger canoes, has been racing for over a decade. The main focus of their practice for the last 20 years has been environmental law and wildfire litigation. Please welcome today's guests, David Eugene Smith and Jeff Caufield. Did I pronounce your last name correct?
Close enough.
Okay. With a name like Attilio, yes. My pronunciation of my name is like horseshoes and hand grenades. We just need you close. All right. Adrian, you want to start us off with the first question?
Okay, yeah, this question is for David. And I just want to, again, thank you guys for coming on. And David, thank you for reaching out. We got connected over, I think it was over social media. We were doing some, Friday Live about the housing and, connecting people that had the houses with the victims. So, we had a really good first conversation, and I know that, you guys are here to help. So on that note, what experience do you have handling fire cases, claims against power companies and the state and county governments?
Yeah, I have quite a bit of experience with claims against the local power companies and local cable companies, and claims against local government, both county and state. That includes claims involving a dispute between the power companies, the cable companies for liability on down power lines, which is specifically what's at issue here. And in those kind of cases, what frequently happens is the power company and the cable company start pointing fingers at each other. They try to shift, and also with the county. And so it's the attorney's job that's involved in those cases to sift through literally thousands and thousands of documents and interviewing sometimes hundreds of witnesses to come to a conclusion and to marshal the evidence to support liability against one entity versus the other. Because it's a frequent ploy that they seem to always do is to lay off on each other. And then it's the plaintiff's responsibility or the plaintiff's counsel to gather the evidence and the witnesses that support the claim against one entity versus the other, since we bear the burden of proof.
Yeah. Now, David, serious question. From the Netflix episodes called Suits, are you Harvey Specter, Mike Ross, or Louis Litt? No, I'm just kidding. If you've never watched those episodes, you're like,
yeah, unfortunately, I haven't. Yeah, I'm too busy with these cases. I don't get
thousands of pieces of paper to go through and to read through. I mean, I think he's pretty busy all day just trying to uncover.
It sounds pretty mundane and boring, compared to what they put on the TV. And I'm sure, like you said, the sifting through all the information.
Yeah, but at the same time, there can be some aha moments where you find that key witness or that key document that breaks the case wide open.
Gotcha. And then, Jeff, what's your main practice area and your experience with the wildfires and what's going to be some things to talk about? And then we'll talk more about, what's your suggestion for our Maui for the Maui recovery.
Yeah. I kind of have a unique experience because even dating back into the mid 1980s, my senior thesis in undergrad was on recovery of vegetation from wildfires. So I have kind of a ties dating back to the mid 1980s, having studied this subject. And then about 20 some odd years ago, we had the major wildfires hit San Diego County, which are probably some of the first ones that really, there'd been a lot of wildfires before, but that was a clear utility caused fire because of high winds that with down power lines, I mean, it's kind of exactly what at least the allegations are right now of what happened in Maui. And so starting with those fires, we've begun representing a lot of wildfire victims. And over the years, we've become progressively more involved. And so, for example, we're still in the midst of representing several hundred clients in the Paradise fires, where the town of Paradise burnt down. I think there was 75 people killed. I mean, a lot like Lahaina, where the whole town was just, I mean, there's just nothing left.
Yeah.
And so we've been doing a large part of our practice for a number of years has been just doing wildfire stuff. And so when fire happened in Maui, and we have a lot of friends either through the volleyball or the paddling or just friends of friends and family of friends that were impacted by the fires, we said, well, you know, I think we can do things to help people out.
Yeah.
And so one of the first things we did is we prepared a list of contacts. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, send me an email. We have a list of contacts for emergency services. So if you want to know, because one of the things that we get a lot of our friends and family ask, they're like, well, we see there's these, you know, where do we go? We need housing assistance. We need food assistance. We see these nonprofits are collecting money. How do we get money from the nonprofits? So what we've tried to do is distill a list. And so we send that out to people. If you don't hire us, that's fine. But if it helps you out because you need somebody to cover your rent or your mortgage, you know, that's what we can do to help the local community. We also teamed up with an attorney I've worked with before in other cases. His name's Dave Fox, with the Fox Law Firm. And the reason why we chose to team with Dave is these cases drag on for years and they're very expensive. And Dave's got a big firm, but also Dave and his firm, Dave's usually one of the top 2 or 3 attorneys that the court selects to represent all of the parties. They're called liaison counsel. And so teaming with Dave ensures that we get, in all likelihood, he'll in this case, get chosen as one of the top 3 or 4 guys that talks to the court and then interfaces with everybody else. So that way we're kind of in the mix and we don't have to wait for other people to tell us what's going on. We have the guy that actually is the one talking to the court. And that's my guess of what will happen here. So
yeah, so you have a lot of problems.
We figured we'd help the local folks.
Collaboration is the key.
And I love how you guys are collaborating and working together, even though it sounds like there's like 3 separate firms that are all, you know, coming together to help, you know, serve the Maui victims. And you guys all have different strengths, and you just are bringing those strengths together to, you know, create that.
Well, I've heard what you guys are saying. You've got experience dealing with big companies, so a utility company is pretty big. You've got the experience with the recovery after the wildfires. That certainly is what happened there, and it's a whole bunch of people all at the same time. So you have that experience with that liaison thing, and so I like the fact too that if people can reach out to you, here's what I would tell people. Reach out to them. Worst case scenario, you guys are going to give them that contact information for all the resources that they're going to need because it's confusing, right? And I would tell people too, the internet and social media, 80% of it is just we've coined a phrase, or we saw it. Social media people are doing. You've heard of storm chasers? You know, these are people on the Weather Channel that chase storms. Well, on social media, we're finding people are called catastrophe chasers.
Yep.
They're just there to fire up conspiracy theories and this and that, and just a whole bunch of negative rhetoric, but not really helping people. And that's what I like about you two, is that you're here to help them navigate a very first-time confusing situation with a lot of things going on and help them navigate through that. Because I can imagine it just must be overwhelming who, what, when, where, and what to do. I see you have this this FAQs brochure. What are the main things that mainly covers? The frequently asked questions. Yeah.
The first thing in the FAQ, it has a lot of the contact, in the pages we were up above.
Okay.
It had a lot of the contact information of where you can go. Like, for example, if you need childcare, here's here's the YMCA, the contact numbers, etc. So you lost your house, you need somebody to watch your kids during the day. Here's options, or here's the numbers at FEMA for those that you need to contact, or the food banks, or the other things you can do for housing assistance, etc. And this is an evolving document. So as additional information comes in and we get additional contacts, we're reissuing this every about, I think this is our second version, number 2. So about every week and a half to 2 weeks, we're adding to this. And then later on, we go into, a lot of things that happen with people, and we've seen this with hundreds. I've literally talked to hundreds of clients and with these wildfire cases. The first response most people have is, I lost my house. And then they go, well, but I have homeowners insurance. And what does that mean? And what do I do? And what's going to happen? So we talk about a lot of those things. We also talk about a lot of the issues like underinsurance. And you guys are real estate professionals, so you probably understand underinsurance as well as the rest of us, if not better. But what a lot of times happen is people will buy insurance for their property, and the rebuild cost is $200 a square foot.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the insurance company is going to give you. But the problem is in Maui, you can't build anything for $200 a square foot. And typically in these fire cases, if the current going rate to build for new construction is $300 to $500 a square foot, when these fire cases happen, we've seen typically the local rebuild costs double.
Wow.
So if the current costs were pre-fire were $300 to $500 a square foot for standard residential housing, I'm not talking high end, but standard residential housing, it may be $600 to $1,000 a square foot. That's what we're seeing, like in Paradise, California. It's before the fire, it was probably $250, $300 a square foot. Now it's the average rate is $700 a square foot to rebuild.
Well, and
that's mainland cost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what we always do. Is first of all, you got to up it with the mainland add, because Hawaii costs. The second thing, folks, just think about it logically. If you have like a whole mess of homes that need to be rebuilt, the number of general contractors on Maui didn't change. It's supply and demand, and now there's huge demand. And it's not like they're gouging, but it's like they got to, supplies have gone up. Everybody's going to Home Depot or the wholesale distribution centers for materials and fighting over all that stuff. So everything that goes up along the line. So that's good that you mentioned that. I would think if I'm a victim in Maui that you guys are the easy button. I would just call you because they're dealing with things emotionally, financially, physiology of just staying in those shelters. Let's talk about what can they expect? What's been your experience, or what can they expect for the support or the help from FEMA?
So FEMA typically will come in. FEMA is really designed for more immediate assistance. So what we see typically happening with FEMA is they will come in. Now, because you're on an island, typically on the mainland, they bring in trailers and housing and you name it. It's easy to get here. Hawaii is a real tough place because they can't just put 1,000 trailers on tractor trailers and get them in there in a week. It's going to take a while. But they will give typically things like rental assistance, etc., that is available to help people cover rent. So, for example, people like yourselves are excellent contacts to talk to the local realtors, because not only will they help you with rental assistance, but you may need, it's going to take a long time to rebuild. So some people may actually just want to go ahead and purchase if they can afford to, because the rental assistance usually is for a finite period of time. Yeah. A lot of times they'll give it like 3 months, maybe 6 months on the outside. But at that point in time, your house is not going to be rebuilt. You're going to need a place to live. If there's not FEMA housing still available, because typically FEMA will leave their trailers there for a long time. But FEMA trailers are small and there's not going to be enough of them. And so housing is going to be a crunch. So FEMA can help you at least get through the initial shock, but after that, it becomes really hard for the residents. And that's what it's horrible. The stories I could tell you about residents where you're camping, people are living on their friends' couches with a family of, 5, 6 for 2-3 years because they have nowhere to go. So it's tough. So that's one reason why having the local real estate community involved in the process and have their feelers out to try to get people places to live. It's tough.
Yeah, Adrian, I know you had a question.
Yeah.
I was a scoutmaster, and I know when you camping for the week or the weekend is one thing, but you really get to know people when it's long term, because it's challenging. But go ahead, Adrian.
So a lot of these homeowners did not own their homes free and clear. There's mortgages to be paid. And, how is that going to work as far as, getting forbearances or
how do you avoid foreclosure?
Risk for foreclosure?
Yeah.
How what is your best recommendation?
I can comment on that. I can comment on that a bit. In fact, I just assisted someone dealing with that very issue. Typically with federally insured like Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae loans, there's a automatic 90-day forbearance for that. And I encourage everyone, even if you don't have a federally insured mortgage, to reach out to your lender. For example, Bank of Hawaii just recently announced they're going to also fall in line and give a 90-day forbearance. So it definitely pays to call your lender to ask for that forbearance, because most of them have an incentive. They want to see the property rebuilt. It's in their best interest to have their property rebuilt to secure their interest. So definitely reach out and ask for that if you need it. In terms of the insurance and dealing with that, it also pays to get with your homeowner's insurance as soon as possible, start processing that claim. And in that regard, there's some public adjusters that are invaluable in providing assistance in getting you the maximum amount recoverable. And we assist with that too. If someone reaches out to us, we'll do what we can to help place them with someone to get those things. I just had a lady who was in Lahaina. She had a bed and breakfast and an animal shelter and lost all of her animals as a result of the fire, along with her tenants and all her rents. But she was successful, got in early, got her loan payoff. In fact, we're negotiating the final payoff right now. And then she can use that money to pay off her mortgage. So she's not under the gun now. And she's already relocated to the mainland. But she has the money now to pay off the loan and then plans to. But even with that, as Jeff can comment more on, and he's already alluded to, the fact that your homeowner's insurance is usually never enough to fully compensate you and make you whole because of all the various factors. And one other factor that I'll mention in Hawaii that particularly applies that I've seen, and Jeff can comment on this as well, is the fact that many of the homes weren't built to code initially. Yeah, I know that happened in Lahaina, a lot of older homes.
Yeah, that's everywhere.
Yeah, it is. And when they rebuild, they're going to build a code, and that's going to also result in a big, shortage of money available. Yeah. So the key thing is to act early and document everything. Take photographs of everything before there's a debris removal. Make sure everything's documented properly. And we have services that we will have drones go over and fly over the property and to help document that. Nice. If they like to go with us, we can help them in that process. But it is important to act early, but at the same time, don't panic. So many people are overwhelmed and they do just react. And so it is important to get a trusted advisor, somebody you trust and feel comfortable with. And Jeff, both he and I, we've got a lot of friends and family in Lahaina, and we feel it's a personal thing. And we want to be there for people and helping them and providing the services that they need from the get-go, and not just in terms of the lawsuits against the utility company and against possibly the cable company and others.
Yeah, we hope that viewers watching this are passing it on to the people that they know that for Adrian and I, we put our reputation behind any guests that we have on the show. In 06, 07, 08, we have direct experience with people facing foreclosure. We worked on over 350 transactions statewide. We did them on every island, most of them were on Oahu. And we know what it's like to dialogue with the banks. We're very bureaucratic. There's a reason it's called the Loss Mitigation Department, because it's part of the bank that doesn't make money and loses money. And it's trying to mitigate that loss, hence the name of it. So they're not got the sharpest tools in the shed working in there. And you call a week later and it's that person's gone, or maybe all stressed out from being yelled at all the time. And so that kind of patience and perseverance and note-taking is very critically important. I saw this movie one time, and it's anecdotal what I'm about to share with you, but we like to keep it interesting. But I want you to tell me what your direct experience has been with the insurance company, because it was, I don't know if it was Al Pacino, but maybe it should have been Al Pacino, but he's a big insurance adjuster guy. And he's like, deny the claim, deny the claim. It was like, deny the claim like 3 times. When the 4th request comes in, then we'll give them the money. I mean, it would be a PR nightmare if they were doing that right off the bat. But it's like you said.
Go ahead.
But what's been your experience with the insurance companies?
There's statistics that show that 90% of insurance claims are initially denied because insurance companies know majority of people don't have the willpower and the resources to fight it. Yeah. So there is a tendency, I think, just to deny, like you're saying, and then let them, because a lot of people just say, that's it. I don't have the time and the effort and the energy to go after it. And and statistics bear this out, that they end up walking away and a lot of times making money off of it. So definitely pays to have someone to help you to look through that.
Like a pit bull.
Yeah. One of the things we do notice though in fire cases, which is somewhat unique, is that a lot of times in the fire cases, particularly when it comes like structure, when the whole property burnt down, unless they have a creative way to deny it, like you haven't been paying your premiums or other things, a lot of times they're more often than not, they'll simply cut you the check for the full amount because your cost to rebuild is so much higher that they look at your property and they're like, well, we insured you for $200 a square foot. You can't rebuild for that cost. So we're not going to fight you on it because it's going to cost more. It's going to cost, we're going to give you a check for $400,000 and it's going to cost 7 or 8 to rebuild your house. So we're not going to fight you on that. On the interior contents, sometimes they'll fight you more. And so like, for example, what we do a lot of times with clients on these fire cases, we have a lengthy check list and ask people like did you have this? Did you have this? Because a lot of times people forget, oh shoot, I had a collection of silver dollars.
Mickey Mantle rookie baseball card.
Yeah, exactly. You have all these things. I mean, we had one guy years ago that had, weirdly enough, he was a train enthusiast. He had $600,000 in trains in his house. Wow. He had built, he had one of those guys that had the whole basement and he had all this stuff. And so him being able to document that with the insurance company helped him. They ended up giving him eventually the maximum. And then we recovered the rest from the utility because he ended up having way more than what was there. But it was really important at the very beginning when people's memories are fresh of what was in their house to go back through. And it's also one thing that really helps you. And it's kind of a weird thing to do, but if you have friends and family that have visited you, ask for pictures because you may not have, your pictures may have burnt inside your house. And unless you backed up your pictures on the web, you may have lost your computer, right? But your family and friends that visited took, holiday pictures. And so all of a sudden you start going through holiday pictures and you're like, oh yeah, we had that. We had that art. We had this. And that kind of stuff sometimes really helps you reconstruct what was in your house. So when you make that list and send it to the insurance company, you get everything. So it's sometimes people look at us like we're a little weird when we're like, call your families and friends that have visited, that have taken pictures, get those pictures back, help that make your list.
Yeah. So when Grandma had that 100th birthday at your house in Lahaina, and the Monet is on the wall behind her, we love Grandma, but we need to see that picture of the Monet on the back wall.
Well, it's funny, the local art, some of the local art stuff that, Grandma may have had local art stuff that was, 50, 70, 80 years old. Those things, like a Koa wood frame, original art painting on the wall that you didn't even think about. That could be a $20,000 item. The frame itself is going to be $1,000. It could be a lot of money. So it really helps to kind of refresh your recollection of what was in the house if you can collect those things and make the list now. And it does help. For example, we do an overflight with a drone because we found that very soon they're going to start scraping the lots. So one of the companies we've worked with in the past, they got hired by the county in Paradise, and they just came in with big front loaders and they would just scoop. Every single lot gets scraped clean. Concrete's gone. Everything is scraped. It's just completely scraped bare, and they put it on dump trucks and they haul it off. Well, that's going to happen very soon because there's a lot of toxics in the soil that they don't want to escape from the properties and like flow into the ocean and everything else when it rains.
Yeah.
So it's really important. And so it's important to get those aerial photos, because if you ever have a dispute, whether it be insurance company or in your claim to the against, whether it be the utility or the county or whomever, it's nice to be able to say, oh, I had this, here's the trunk of this tree and this bush, and oh, there's where my shop was in the backyard, and oh, there's my car or whatever, those things, like be able to prove what was on your property before they scrape it.
Yeah, we've been not involved in a lot of lawsuits, and I slept in a Holiday Inn last night, so no, I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, it's a difference between hearsay and fact. An aerial shot is factual. I think I had a shop in the back is hearsay. It's just like you said, easier to prove it with the aerial drone shot. So I think that's good. And I think they were still identifying DNA, but they might be up beyond that. And I know they were walking through and getting like the car batteries and all the household toxic items that we don't think about till it's in the pile of ashes everywhere. And then after that, have you guys heard, or do we know when they're going to be? We know that's going to be in the potential future, but do we have any idea when that might happen? I don't know if you guys have been following it, or if they made announcements on the scraping.
So the county right now. So I actually talked to the company that that did it up in Paradise. He said they were requested to bid, and he didn't get the bid, but because he didn't really expect it, because he was going to be too expensive to try to mobilize everything to
where it was.
Maui, and there's not any really heavy equipment that he could get access to. But he said they've already gone out. They've gone out and they're getting bids, and it sounds like they may have awarded the bid to a local company to do it. So my guess is they're probably 60 days away, 90 days away from starting the process. And the way they do it.
Yeah, they've got to have a plan. They can't just go in there ham and just start mowing everything down.
Yeah, well, and then it's very complicated because they actually do air monitoring, because there's so much. If you think about everything inside your house, like plastic and, plastic, and you get chemicals under your sink, and, your TV has electronic stuff and toxic metal, right? When they dig this stuff up, it creates a lot of air issues. And so when they scrape, they actually put air monitors out to make sure that they're not causing harm in the local neighborhood. That, like, in other words, they're not causing so much dust, they're actually making other people, people locally sick. Sure. So it is a fairly complex process. And then they have to figure out where they're going to put the refuge of 2,500 structures.
Yeah.
That itself is a Herculean task. And they have to have the people then, and residents need to be allowed to go back in and salvage what they can.
Yeah.
And so it's a very, very delicate period between giving everybody enough time to go back and salvage what they can, that maybe stuff that didn't burn or was not destroyed, and at the same time taking steps to protect the environment from essentially the runoff from all of the homes flowing into the ocean, because Lahaina was just an amazing place, but it is right on the ocean. And the last thing we want to do is have a lot of toxic stuff flow into local waters and cause more harm than there's already been caused by the fires.
And the surrounding neighborhoods, communities, all the other businesses, residents that live on the coastline over there. Because I know Front Street is like right there. There's the beach. So,
Tilio, one thing that's important to remember in regards to the debris, it's really important, as hard as it may be. Owners should either themselves or have someone do it for them if they're not comfortable doing it. Go take photographs of all the debris before it's cleaned off. It's important in documenting all that for their insurance purposes to have that done as well.
Yeah, no one's going to care more about your lot than yourself. Question that's coming up, people are thinking, they do this with us too. We provide a high level of service. We are very knowledgeable and good at what we do. Automatically, Adrian, what do people start thinking?
Oh, this must cost a lot of money. It's got to be, you guys probably charge more.
Yeah. Talk about how does that work? I mean, as far as like, what's the game plan for the legal fees?
So whoever you hire, and it doesn't have to be us. I mean, whoever you hire, first of all, people should make sure that people they hire are experienced, been around the block a few times, and also they're ready, and that they have the financial. They've been around the block, and they also understand the costs involved. Because typically, on a case like this, the clients should not be paying anything. There should be no out-of-pocket money being paid by the clients. The law firm should front that money, and they should do what's called a contingency fee. And the current rate that, like, for example, we're offering is 25%, which is fairly low. Okay. But you do need to question, like, what is my contingency fee rate? Make sure you're not going to get charged for costs, because on a case like this, we end up having to hire. Like, just give you an example. On a case, let's say it's a single family home on a half acre of land, right? So for us, we would hire a person on your behalf that would estimate the cost to rebuild. So that's just one guy, just the cost to rebuild the house. And then we have another estimator that comes in and takes your list of all your personal belongings you lost, and they develop a cost. So you lost a toaster replacement is $110, whatever. They go the whole list and they generate that list. So that's your, like, the stuff inside your house. Yep. Landscaping. Oh, you have a koa tree on your property. What is the cost to replace, a koa tree with a 24-inch trunk? Okay, maybe that's $150,000, because your insurance company doesn't cover any of your landscaping. So they develop a landscaping cost. And then you typically, let's say you have business losses. You lost work, or maybe you owned a local shop or business, you lost that. So all of these things, each of those things are an expert. So an expert on the rebuild cost alone, he may charge $5,000 to $10,000. Yeah. Interior of the house may charge $3,000 to $5,000. So by the time you get all of those, and that's just figuring out your damages. That's not even causation issues. Yeah. So a law firm that has, let's say 100 properties, it's not out of the realm of expectations that they may spend $20,000 to $30,000 per property just to do a damage estimate. So you could be out of pocket for a law firm, hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, depending on the number of clients. Mm-hmm. So you have to have people that have essentially the deep pockets with the attorneys that can spend the money, and that's tough. And so that's one thing you got to kind of look at is, are these guys ready to write those kind of checks and not charge me for it? Because the last thing we're going to do is have people that already lost everything that are going to be stuck with some kind of cost bill or legal bills or fees. That should never happen. Yeah, they should never owe anything.
I think you guys are in the same realm as us, as a solo practitioner versus someone that has a firm and a team. For us, like, for example, we upfront $10,000. Adrian and I have our own personal money for people for property prep. Most solo agents don't have the resources, and we bring in everybody: general contractors, plumbers, electricians, painters, people to do trash outs, people to do professional cleaning, appraisals, home inspections. So we kind of like run our real estate team like a law firm with people that are on staff that are paid specialists for the different areas in how we can better serve our clients. And here's the thing that I would say that we do that's probably similar to you all: the amount of return that you're going to get them will more than take care of that 25% if they just did it on their own. The same thing when we list somebody's home. They make more money with us, so we pay for ourselves. And it's more of an investment for them, getting them what they deserve versus being shortchanged by. And I'm sure there's piles and piles of attorneys and resources on the other end of the power companies, everybody, the insurance companies, FEMA. So you help them with all the different things, right? All the different buckets.
Right.
Okay. Adrian, you had a question?
I was just gonna say I'm gonna hop off and let you wrap this up. And thank you guys for
being our guest. Nice meeting you.
Excellent info.
Happy Friday.
Happy Aloha Friday.
Happy Aloha Friday. So we are coming to an end of a thing. We like to do the old leave them wanting more. And I think obviously anybody in this situation, highly recommend they give you all a call to at least an initial phone consultation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We do that for free. Won't cost anything. And one thing I was going to mention in conclusion, we're actually coming over to Lahaina, and they're going to be doing a town hall at the Maui Brewing Company Friday, September 22nd from 5 p.m. onwards. And again on Saturday, September 23rd from 12 p.m. And then finally, there's going to be another one September 23rd at the Poa Parkway in Kihei at 3 p.m. And if anyone has any questions, we can forward a little brochure or something that has the information on there, or call us and we'll give you the more details.
And then I know somebody was writing that down and their pen ran out of ink. Tell me the dates and the locations one more time.
Sure. It's going to be at the Maui Brewing Company on Friday, September 22nd at 5 p.m. That's located at 605 Lopoa Parkway in Kihei. And again, on Saturday, September 23rd at 3 p.m., same location. And then they're going to have another one at the Kahana Gateway Center on the 23rd at 12 p.m. noon.
Yeah.
And Kahana Gateway Center, if you don't have the address, is 4405 Hona P.E. Lani Highway.
Okay, Lani.
Yeah,
I highly recommend. I've been to Kona Brewing. Go to that one. It's a big venue over there. It's nicer.
Yeah.
If you're all stressed out, maybe have a beer. And
There you go.
instead of the one in the shopping center, you're probably standing in one hot parking lot. But I don't know. They probably got places open for them. But
Yeah,
Kona
yeah.
Brewing would probably be a more enjoyable event
I
experience.
would agree. I'd rather make Maui Brewing Company myself.
Yeah, yeah, Maui Brewing. And that was it. So thank you so much for being on the show. I know we're gonna have you guys on the radio show. If anybody has any questions and they forgot all this stuff, get a hold of us and we'll forward them to you. Any last comments before we sign off? Oh, you're on mute, Jeff.
Jeff, you're on mute.
Let's see.
Uh,
Can I unmute him? No, I can't.
I would just say, encourage everyone to, feel free to call us with any questions whatsoever. We're happy to answer any general questions they may have. A lot of times it may seem trivial, but if there's something we can help, we're happy to do so.
Yeah.
And that includes the waterfront, every issue that they're dealing with.
All right. Thank you so much for you all being on the show today, and we appreciate it. And then we look forward to having you on the radio show.
Yep. Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it. Thank you, Attila. All right.
Okay.
Aloha.
Talk to you.
Aloha.
Aloha.